Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. It's our first week one start sit. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday the rest of the season. I think we're going to just keep it scheduled for Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to get your questions ready, I think Wednesday night will be the best night for start sit questions. If you are new to the show, I'll show you guys with a screen share what we're going to be looking at today. Basically, on the fantasyfellowship.com, I make these start sit charts. And they kind of look like this. So I kind of make a fantasy roster with these players, and then we'll go down and kind of just talk about how I'm feeling for each one. We'll pull up some practice reports, and hopefully have everything you guys need to know for your week one matchup. So Thursday Night Football, Dallas at Tampa Bay. In the parentheses here, Tampa Bay is favored by 8.5 points. It's a 52-point implied total. So roughly Tampa Bay 30-22 is the projected score here. And let's take a look at the practice reports real quick. If you guys do have questions, I think what I'm going to do is, because we have a lot of stuff to cover in this one, I think after every game that I cover, we'll open it up to a question if there is one. So feel free to throw your questions in the chat there. And then with Dallas, it seemed like a pretty healthy – everyone practiced in full today, so there's really nothing to note on the Dallas Cowboys side. It's good to see Lyle Collins practicing the offensive line. They're going to need him for sure. On the Tampa Bay side, I think it was a relatively healthy day too. Only Jordan Whitehead, I think he's the number 2 safety. He did not practice. He's already labeled as out, so we'll see what happens with that. But Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, both full practices after Antonio Brown did not practice on Tuesday. Chris Godwin limited yesterday, full practice today. So it looks like everybody's good to go. Giovanni Bernard also good to go. So how are we treating the Cowboys at the Buccaneers? I think Dak Prescott, you drafted him as your quarterback one. You're still going to probably throw him out there. He's probably a low-end quarterback one. Tom Brady, I think if you drafted Tom Brady, you probably draft him as your starter. He's got top 5, top 10 upside. We know the Dallas defense is not the greatest. And if you are new to the show, we reference some important stats here from FF Today, and they kind of collect everything that we need to know. So last season, based on fantasy points per game, the Cowboys allowed, they're middle of the road against quarterbacks. They allowed about 18.7 PPR points to the position. Tampa Bay actually allowed 17.9, so it might not be that bad for Dak. The only running back that I trust in this one is Ezekiel Elliott. He should rack up the number of touches, whether it's, maybe 12, 15 carries in 5, 6 catches. I think in a PPR format, I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to be just fine, and it really depends if he's going to get the touchdown or not. But I think the floor, 10 to 12 points, hopefully for the touchdown, you can, boost you over. As far as the wide receivers in this one, again, if we look at the charts here, again, this is last year's numbers, so they might not be the most true, but the Cowboys were the 3rd worst against wide receivers here. If I filter this to PPR, we're going to see the Dallas Cowboys defense allowed, I guess they were the 5th worst, but they allowed basically 42 PPR points to the receiver groups. Tampa Bay actually was not as great. They allowed about 39, so kind of close, only a few points difference. So I'm not too nervous. I'm still starting CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup's interesting, a wide receiver 3 flex. If you guys do have questions on Michael Gallup, I can answer those. And then the Buccaneer receivers, Mike Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown. I think you got to get all of those guys in the lineup. Gronkowski is kind of a what the heck flex. You could throw him in there as your tight end, but it's a risk reward type situation. I could see Gronk having a nice game, and then he's a running back 3 for me. He's kind of a flex, a top 30 running back. And we just don't know what the Tampa Bay defense or the Tampa Bay running back split is going to be. So if you're feeling risky, you could probably throw Ronald Jones in there. I think he's going to lead the team in touches. The only defense I'm going to start is the Tampa Bay defense. And then for now, I'm going to keep Blake Jarwin, Tony Pollard on the bench. I'm not going to trust Leonard Fournette, Gio, OJ, or Scott Miller in this one. So that's the Tampa Bay game. Let me take a look at some of the questions we got here. And yeah, Austin Eckler did not practice today. I'm not overly concerned. He did have a hamstring last year. He was working on the sideline with his trainer. So if he wasn't working on the sideline with trainers, I'd be a little bit more nervous. But I'm just wondering if this was maybe a planned day off. And hopefully, so Wednesdays, in terms of the practice reports week, for a team that plays on Sunday, Wednesday, this is the first glimpse that we get on a player if he's going to play or not. And typically, Wednesdays are the least important day. We care about Thursday, but most specifically, we care about Friday. If he's ready to go by Friday, that means he's ready to go for Sunday. So we'll wait and see if Austin is limited or a full participant tomorrow. Let me see what else we got here. So Aiden Tobin, what's going on, man? We're going to flex Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Smith, Gus Callaway, 10-team PPR. So we only got one spot for all these guys. I think the safest play is Najee because he's probably going to get the most touches. If I had to choose my second favorite, it would be Gus Edwards. Again, I think they're only going to have 2 healthy running backs in the Ravens' backfield. Raiders' defense not as great. Najee Harris still going up against Buffalo. I could see him racking up a handful of touches. So I think just because where you drafted Najee, you probably got to start Najee in this one. But if I had to choose someone else, it would probably be Gus Edwards. What's going on, Kyle? PPR, start Tyler Lockett or David Montgomery in the flex PPR. I also have DK. So David Montgomery against the Chicago Bears and Tyler Lockett against the Indianapolis Colts, and you have DK Metcalf. I'm probably starting DK and Lockett. I know Aiden says David Montgomery, but I don't really trust the Chicago Bears going up against the Rams, especially on the road too. I think I'm excited about the Russell Wilson, the new offensive coordinator in there. It sounds like things could be really fruitful for the Seahawks. So I'm probably gonna start Lockett and DK Metcalf. Hopefully 1 or 2 of them score touchdowns, and we'll roll with that. But Montgomery up against the Rams. Let me just show you real quick. The stats from last year were not very good in terms of PPR. So if we look down here, the Rams were amongst they were the 5th best team against the running backs. They only allowed 20.5 fantasy points per game in PPR leagues. So Montgomery probably could get 15, 16, but I think the upside of Lockett and Metcalf, I'm going to probably take that in this game. What's going on, Seth? Chase Edmunds or Gus Edwards? Give me Gus Edwards in this one. Chase Edmunds and the James Conner split still makes me a little uneasy, whereas Gus Edwards we know is going to get the ball. So in questions like this, I'm going to be like, okay, Gus Edwards probably getting 15, 16 carries maybe in this one. It is the Raiders, and if we look at the PPR points to running back, the Raiders gave up the 4th most last season, almost 29 points per game. And the Titans, Chase Edmunds against the Titans, I know it's 26. They rank 7th here, 7th worst. But with just that split, I have questions. He's probably a better PPR back, but I think I got to go with my man Gus. We're going to pick 2. Godwin, Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, Myles Gaskin, Tyler Boyd, Laviska Shenault, Corey, assuming that's Corey Davis, and then Callaway. Let's see. So Godwin, Woods, Jeudy, Gaskin, Boyd, Laviska, Corey, Callaway, 12-team PPR. I'm going to cross Callaway off the list. I don't trust him against Jair Alexander in the Green Bay defense. I think as Godwin's going to be healthy. I think Godwin probably needs to be in your lineup. He was the guy that you drafted probably after Bob Woods. And with Robert Woods going up against the Chicago Bears, let's see where the Rams were among, they were the best team against wide receiver last year. But it kind of feels wrong to bench Robert Woods. But I think right now I'm probably leaning towards, let's see here. Where did that go? I'm probably leaning towards Chris Godwin, and it's tough because you want to probably get a high PPR guy in there. So maybe Boyd or Laviska would be my 2 options. So if I had to pick, I'm going to go Godwin, and we'll go Laviska Shenault against the against the Houston Texans. I think that could be kind of nice. And then so I know they didn't pay Connor much, but it sounded like in training camp it was a 50-50 split, and I just don't think they're going to give Chase Edmunds the ball 15 to 20 times per game. It's going to be kind of split down the middle. So I think I'm going to take the safe touches with Gus Edwards in that one. But let's move on here. We got the Sunday early games now. The Atlanta Falcons hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons are favored by 3 points, and it's a 48-point total, implied there. I think if you drafted Jalen Hurts, you're probably starting Jalen Hurts here. It's a good matchup against the Falcons, who allowed a lot of quarterback points last year. You also have Matt Ryan here, who if you're streaming quarterbacks, Matt Ryan could be used, but I think he's more of a top 15 quarterback. He's best used as a QB2 in Superflex leagues. If you drafted Emmanuel Sanders, he can be your running back too. Same thing with Mike Davis. I think he's going to get a good amount of touches in this one. Calvin Ridley's got top 5 wide receiver upside this week. If we look at the amount of points that the wide receivers were giving up last year, the Falcons gave up the 2nd most, and the Eagles gave up the 8th most. So this one could be a lot of fun for the pass. So I'm leaning towards getting my guys into this game. Devonta Smith, the wide receiver 3 flex, is a good play. You're getting Kyle Pitts is not a question. We're starting Kyle Pitts, but I have Zach Ertz ranked ahead of Dallas Goedert. I think Ertz is going to be more involved than people use. So if I had to pick one Eagles tight end, I think I'm taking Zach Ertz over Goddard. And then just because we're expecting this to be more pass happy, maybe Russell Gage can be used as a wide receiver 3 flex. I don't know if I trust the defenses. I did say in a TikTok earlier today that I thought the Falcons defense could be streamed, but I don't know about this game. This one's a fun unveil. The Falcons with a new offensive coordinator, new head coach. The Eagles, same thing. There's a lot of unknowns here, so I think this could be a fun pass-happy game. Let me see what we got going on here. So I feel like Kamara should be going second in all PPR leagues. Yeah, I had him basically the same as Dalvin Cook. I think the one thing that I took, I think I had Dalvin Cook maybe like 5 points projected more. So I tried to get different exposures, but Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, they're the focal points of their team. You really can't go wrong with either one. I think they're both top 3 options. And then we got Aiden asking Winston or Tua, same league. Well, let's just look at this. The fantasy points allowed last year, the Patriots were not the same defense that they were last year. They were still pretty good against the quarterback. They allowed here. Let me filter this by ESPN, and then we'll go down. No, we gotta hit the up button. So last season, the Patriots they were the 7th best against quarterbacks, about 16 points per game here. And then you're looking at Green Bay, who was a top 5 team against the quarterback. I think I'm gonna go with Tua in this one, just because Winston, brand new team. I know it could be nice against the Packers, but it's also a home game that's in Jacksonville. It's kind of weird. I'm feeling the Packers are going to roll in that one, whereas Patriots versus Dolphins, that game could go back and forth. One thing that I do look at too is implied point totals. So if we look here, the Packers and the Saints, there's supposed to be 50 total points in this game, and versus the Patriots and the Dolphins, 43.5. So they're saying a touchdown more will be scored in the Saints-Packers game. But I think with the rushing upside that Tua presents, I'm probably going to go with Tua, and then we'll see what the Saints can do against the Packers. But I'm going to lean Tua here. You got Calvin Ridley, 10-team PPR flex. I'm assuming that's DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk. Hold on, I gotta zoom in here. These are hard to read. So Ayuk, Hurt, Rojo, Laviska, Callaway, Damian Harris. I'm gonna cross Callaway off the list for this week. A 10-team PPR flex. I think you got to get DJ Moore in there. You paid good money for DJ Moore. Oh, Hunt, Kareem Hunt. So I'm for sure starting DJ Moore above all these guys. I think if Ayuk is good to go, I'm willing to play Brandon Ayuk. What was his practice report today? So Brandon Ayuk, so he got a full practice in today. So if Ayuk continues to hit full practices Thursday and Friday, I'm probably just going to roll with Moore and Ayuk. If you're nervous about Ayuk, I'm probably going to throw out Laviska Shenault. So I would rank them Moore, Ayuk, Laviska. That's probably how I would do it. Damian Harris, I still want to see it with Damian Harris, see what his floor is. Still undecided, but Moore, Ayuk, and then Laviska. I'm excited about Laviska this week and this year to keep it simple. But the Falcons and the Eagles should be a fun game, the bird game. We'll see how it goes. But this one is probably the most exciting noon game that I think I can find. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. It's a 48.5 point total, and the Bills are basically favored to win by 6.5. You're starting Josh Allen, no problem. You're going to start Stephon Diggs. I think you're starting Najee Harris, no problem. The Pittsburgh receivers, you drafted Deontay Johnson in the 4th or 5th round. You're going to get him in the lineup. Juju Smith-Schuster, same thing. I have him listed here as a wide receiver too. I think he's going to rack up a lot of catches in PPR formats, and then Chase Claypool can be your number 3. The real question, though, is who's going to be, who does Tre'Davious White cover? That's what I'm going to be interested in. We know the Bills have a decent secondary, so I'm interested in that matchup. I think I'm willing to start all 3 guys at the positions here. Maybe Claypool's a wide receiver 3 flex. A little bit more boom bust built into there. But I'm excited about Najee Harris' debut. If Pittsburgh plans to win this game, they have to establish the run and keep Josh Allen off the field. So it could be a heavy dose of Najee Harris in this one. And then you got Ben Roethlisberger, who I'm not going to trust him for quarterback 1 leagues, but quarterback 2 super flex leagues, I'll throw him in there. Good chance at 2 touchdowns, maybe a 3rd if he can get it in. And then for flexes on the Buffalo side, Cole Beasley, a low-end PPR play. He can get 5-6 catches. Emmanuel Sanders, let's look at that practice report real quick. So Buffalo, Emmanuel Sanders limited today with a foot. Maybe I'll cool it on Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think anyone's trying to get him in their lineups right away, but I'm interested to see if he plays well in this one and he comes out healthy. Sanders could have a nice game here. I know the Pittsburgh defense was like probably the 1st or 2nd defense picked in your fantasy league, but going up against Josh Allen in Buffalo at Buffalo. I kind of don't want to play Pittsburgh's defense, but I get it. If you don't want to make a pickup, you can probably just go ahead and do that. And then I don't really know if I trust Buffalo's defense quite yet, so we'll leave them on the sideline. I'm not going to trust Zach Moss or Devin Singletary quite yet. I want to see what that looks like before I trust them. Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, again, those are guys. They're too boom bust for week one. I'd rather get something a little bit more concrete. And then Eric Ebron, Pat Freiermuth, we're going to see what the tight ends look like, and then just some backups down here. So Pittsburgh at Buffalo, very excited about that game. Let me see what else we got here from Aiden. So let's see, 10-team flex PPR. We got Gus Edwards, Judy, Tyler Boyd, Zach Moss. I'm assuming that's Corey Davis and AJ Dillon. So for 10-team PPR, I think you got to put Tyler Boyd in there. Going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Defense wasn't very great last year. They are going to be better this year, but you got to expect Tyler Boyd's going to get his handful of catches. So I'm starting Boyd for sure. So do we need to pick 3 of these guys? I'm going Boyd. I think you got to get Gus in there. And then I'm probably going to go – it's tough. It's between Judy and Corey Davis. I think I'm not going to use Moss. I'm not going to use Dillon. So then it comes down to a preference call. I could see Jerry Jeudy having a really good game against the New York Giants, and I could also see Corey Davis having a really fun day against the Carolina Panthers. So for me, I'm probably going to lean I would say go with whoever you drafted first. I think Jerry Jeudy was probably the guy that I would go with. And then A.J. Brown, so he had the knee surgeries last year, I guess in the offseason. It's the first – I wouldn't get too worried about it. This is what he did all of last year. I think Wednesdays he did not practice like all of last year on a Wednesday. So tomorrow we're probably going to see him limited, maybe Friday on full. So this is just precaution. It's kind of the same thing with Austin Eckler. I think these guys – it's week one before the season. They're just, lowering their workload here. They're making sure they're getting in shape and doing their conditioning and things like that. So if he misses again tomorrow, I'd be more concerned. But it's early. It's Wednesday. This is a normal thing. A lot of studs did not practice on Wednesday, and then we got to see what happens on Thursday. So we'll wait for tomorrow. If he did not practice again, we'll be concerned. But on to the next game. We'll kind of be quick with this one. Minnesota at Cincinnati. Minnesota's favored by 3.5 points, 47 implied point total. I think both quarterbacks are just kind of quarterback twos. You could stream Kirk Cousins if you're feeling it in a quarterback one league, but they're both kind of super flex QBs for me. You're starting Dalvin Cook. You're starting Joe Mixon. No question with those guys. You're going to start Justin Jefferson. You're going to start Adam Thielen. I think Higgins, Boyd need to be in your lineup. Jamar Chase is interesting, though, because where his draft value was, I think people probably got him as their wide receiver 3 or their 4. If you guys have questions on Jamar Chase for start-sit questions, I can answer those. I think for now, I kind of view Jamar Chase as he's a fringe top 36 wide receiver. I think Higgins and Boyd are the safer plays. I trust them a little bit more. I don't really know what Chase can all do. So for me, he's kind of a flex play. He's kind of like in that Michael Gallup tier where it could be, 6-7 points, or it could be a big 22-point game or something like that. So he's a bit of a risk, but I like what he's got for potential this season. We're going to start the Vikings defense. I think the Bengals it's a fun, exciting offense right now. It's a home game. It's also Joe Burrow's first live action that he's really, really had. So I'm interested. We're probably going to start the Vikings defense. I think it's pretty easy to see that they are favored to win. And then guys on the bench, it's really, to me, it's Tyler Conklin. You're going to watch him on the waiver wire next week. He could be a tight end that pops off for, double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. Chris Herndon, I'm not expecting much for him week 1 with his new team. But Alexander Madison, Amir Smith-Marset, let's keep an eye on those guys this weekend. And then the tight ends. I'm interested in Drew Sample or CJ Uzama to see who steps up at the tight end spot. But Cincinnati, man, I'm excited to see what the offense looks like, and we'll see how Minnesota, steps into the new season. So we got an 18 PPR flex. DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Cortland Sutton, Shenault, Judy, Debo, Cooper, Mike Davis. So is this only one spot, Aiden? Only one spot for this? I'm nervous about DeAndre Swift. I know he's been practicing in full, but it seems like his conditioning is behind what the coaches would want. So if you're going with just one flex in this, Cooper, so is that Cooper Kupp? Amari Cooper? Who do you got for a Cooper there? I think I like Shenault and I like Judy's matchup. I'm a big fan of DJ Moore's matchup against Carolina or against the New York Jets. Mike Davis against Philadelphia could be nice. He's probably got a really safe floor in PPR leagues, and it's Amari Cooper. Okay, so Tampa Bay's defense going up against Amari Cooper. I think I'm okay with letting Cooper sit on the bench. I kind of want to see what Tampa Bay's defense looks like. So to me, I'm probably just going to trust DJ Moore. But I get it. Like, it's hard to sit your studs. If you want to get Amari Cooper in there, I think Dak could be fired up. So to me, I'm probably going DJ Moore or Amari Cooper. You probably took Cooper before DJ Moore anyways. So it's between those two for me, DJ Moore or Amari Cooper. I would feel stupid, if Amari Cooper goes off tomorrow night. And one of my rules is don't sit your studs, even in tough matchups. I'm willing to take the hit on those guys. What's going on, sir? Thanks for hanging out. Should I start Dak or Ryan Tannehill? That's a really good question. You got two awesome quarterbacks, so that's great news. But man, the Dallas Cowboys against Tampa Bay, and we're talking Ryan Tannehill here. Let me see what the implied point total is I'm super excited about this Arizona Cardinals Titans game. The implied point total is 52.5, and of course Tampa Bay is about 51.5. So they're expecting more points in the Tennessee game. And if we look quick at last year's stats versus the quarterbacks, Tampa Bay, again, they averaged, let me hit this up button here. Tampa Bay, they were 15th best against the quarterback, about 17.9 points. And then the Arizona Cardinals, I believe they were right here at 18.3. But I really don't trust this Cardinals defense at all. So I think I'm excited to see Dak against Tampa Bay. I think I'm going to wait for Sunday unveil. I'm probably going to roll with Tannehill. But either way, I think you're going to lock yourself into probably 2 or 3 touchdowns and a good chance at 250 to 300 yards. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. If you want to get Dak in there, I get it. But I'm probably going to wait for Tannehill against the Arizona Cardinals. I think that's going to be a really fun matchup. And then if you look at, I don't know, it's a home game for the Titans. Cowboys are on the road Thursday night. I think you got to go with the Ryan Tannehill there. So we're on to our next game, San Francisco at Detroit. San Francisco is favored by 7.5 points, a really low implied point total of 44.5. The quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo is getting the start. I can't tell you to start Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to wait and see how this split works. And Jared Goff, we're not going to use Jared Goff in quarterback leagues. Maybe in Superflex leagues, I can see it, but I don't really want to trust it. I want to see what I'm buying before I put it out there. But Raheem Mostert, a must start this week as a running back too. If you waited for Raheem Mostert, you're going to get a value here against Detroit right away. Brandon Ayuk, again, he practiced in full today. That's great to see. Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo is kind of sneaky in this one. I think Ayuk and Deebo can both make some big plays that can make your day just one play, really. You're starting George Kittle. And then if you want to get risky, say you built a kind of a 0 RB strategy and you have Trey Sermon in your lineup, I think he could be a running back too. Like, he really only needs 1 or 2 big plays to make his day. And if San Francisco is up in the second half and they're just running the ball and trying to see what they got in the rookie, he's an upside play. I probably wouldn't recommend starting him, but I have him here as a top 30 flex play. And then on the Detroit Lions side, TJ Hawkinson, you're starting Hawkinson, but Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, they're both kind of flexes for him. I'm not sure who's going to lead the team in touches week 1 here. They've been saying Jamal Williams is awesome and that they love what he can do. DeAndre Swift is practicing in full and he's good to go. But I'm just a little hesitant. I think if you drafted DeAndre Swift, you're going to use him as your running back too, but just lower expectations week 1. It might be kind of annoying with Jamal Williams getting some touches. And then Tyrell Williams is kind of a dark horse wide receiver 1 shot. If they're going to be losing and throwing the ball, Tyrell Williams can maybe have a nice day. Start the 49ers defense, and then we'll leave all the other guys here on the bench. So San Francisco should roll. That should be a pretty easy one. I might even take them to cover that 7.5. That seems like a pretty low. It could be a double-digit, point total here. But we'll get to Arizona at Tennessee in a second. Let me check up on the questions here. Where did we leave off? So Aiden's got another 10-team PPR league. Ayuk, Carson, Gallup, Connor, Hardman, DJ Moore, and Callaway. I'm probably going to. I like DJ Moore. I think if that's Elijah Moore. Okay, never mind. My bad. I just saw that now. So you got Elijah Moore. As long as Ayuk's healthy, I think I'm starting Ayuk, and then the next closest decision would be Chris Carson. I think Carson could be a nice play. I know it's Indianapolis's defense, but I would rank them Ayuk, Carson, and then probably close between Gallup and Callaway and Moore. So for me, Ayuk and then Carson, if you want to make a decision there. And then, Marvin Jones, man, he's good. He's a classy veteran. Darrell Bevel, he's played with him the last 2 years in Detroit. So it's not surprising to see Marvin Jones get the veteran nod there as captain. So that's good to see. I like Marvin Jones a lot. I think he could have a nice season. But here we go. Arizona at Tennessee. So I said how much I like the Buffalo Pittsburgh game. I think this is probably my second favorite noon game here. Arizona at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 3 points, 52.5 points total implied. You're starting Kyler Murray. You got to start Ryan Tannehill. You're starting Derrick Henry. You're starting Hopkins. You're starting A.J. Brown. And if you drafted Julio Jones, he's healthy. You can't bench Julio Jones as long as he's healthy. So to me, he's got wide receiver 2 upside. He might look best as your wide receiver 3. I do think Anthony Firkser is worth a tight end 1 streamer. And then as far as flexes, I like Chase Edmunds. He's got a safe PPR floor. James Conner could be the guy getting the goal line touches. And then Rondale Moore, like if you went running back heavy or you grabbed your tight end early and you just decided to wait for wide receivers, Rondale Moore, I think he could be a guy that gets the ball 6, 7, 8 times in this one, maybe 4 or 5 catches in a quick like end around or a handoff or 2. So keep an eye on Rondale Moore. I've been telling people I think he's about 20% owned in ESPN leagues. That needs to be more. I think you're going to try to see them get the ball in his hands right away. So he excites me quite a bit. Don't expect he shouldn't be on the waiver wire. He should be on team. So if you got the room to go snag Rondale Moore, I totally would look into it. I don't really trust the defenses in this one. Again, as far as point totals go, I think this was the most implied point totals. Dallas, Tampa Bay's 51.5. There's our 52. I think this is, I guess, Cleveland and Kansas City. That's the highest implied total. So we're talking this Cardinals-Tennessee game is the second most implied point total here. I don't know if I'm going to trust either defense in this one. I'll watch for A.J. Green. I'll watch for Christian Kirk. And then Jeremy McNichols, just the backup for Derrick Henry. But a lot of fun for this Tennessee game, home game there for Tennessee. We'll move on to Seattle and the Indianapolis Colts. Let me see what we got here. So one for starting RB. I'm trying to see here. One FAB for a starting RB in the Fellowship League. So Kittle or Pitts. You got Kyle Pitts and George Kittle on the same team. I think I would take Kyle Pitts. George Kittle does not really score touchdowns throughout his career. I think I would take Kyle Pitts in a game. San Francisco versus Detroit's probably not going to be as competitive, whereas that Philadelphia-Atlanta game could be a lot of fun. I think Kyle Pitts, it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Pitts scored more than George Kittle, but either way, I think you're in for a good weekend. If those are your 2 tight end options, you're going to have a good time. I probably would play Kyle Pitts. Just a little bit more fun, I think. George Kittle, he's good, but Kyle Pitts could be great, especially against the Eagles. The linebackers in Philly don't really excite me, so Kyle Pitts could be a matchup nightmare. But anyways, Seattle at Indianapolis Colts. The Seahawks are favored by 2.5 points, a 50-point implied total. You got to start Russell Wilson. Don't overthink it. Carson Wentz is just barely a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. It sounds like he's healthy and good to go. Let me pull up those reports real quick. Indianapolis has just been like one of the most injured teams of the summer here. But Quentin Nelson did not practice with a foot injury. We'll watch for that. Xavier Rhodes questionable with a calf injury. So the defense there gets hit. The cornerback can't continue to play. But Paris Campbell, Eric Fisher, both limited. And then Carson Wentz, the full practice. So Wentz is in. I think he's just a quarterback 2 option in Superflex leagues. You're starting Jonathan Taylor. I think you're starting Chris Carson as a running back 2 or 3, in the flex spot. You got to get DK and Tyler Lockett in the lineups. And then the question here on Seattle's side is Gerald Everett. I think he's a solid, tight end 2 that you can have on your bench. He could be flex this week. I'm willing to just leave him on the bench, though, and see what happens. I think it could be fun, though. Gerald Everett could be the tight end that they've been looking for. And then Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, Naheem Hines. These guys are all kind of wide receiver 3 flex options here. I don't love them. I would prefer to keep everyone on the bench for the Colts besides Jonathan Taylor. I think Taylor's the only guy that you have to start for the Colts side. And then, the Seahawks, you're starting Wilson, Carson, Metcalf, and Lockett. And then let's wait and see on Everett. I have a maybe next to the Seattle defense, but I don't know. Seattle's defense hasn't been great the last couple seasons. And then just with the Colts, I know it's a home game for the Colts, but I don't feel great starting them against the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll see what happens in that one. But the Chargers and the Washington football team are next. That's a fun game here. Let me see. You think Pitts gets a TD week 1? I think Kyle Pitts scores a touchdown week 1. Let me pull up some stats here. If I just hit the tight ends from last season, the worst teams against the tight end last year, you see the Eagles were the 10th worst team. They did allow 9 touchdowns to the tight ends, almost 81 catches and 846 yards. If I filter that by PPR points, the Eagles themselves, and I don't think they addressed the linebacker situation of their team, but they allow 14 points per game to the tight end group. And the Lions, surprisingly, the Lions were decent against tight end. I'm not sure why, but only about 12 fantasy points. They only allowed 61 catches, 680 yards. So I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts to score a touchdown. I think that could be a fun bet. And that boy, Tevin Coleman, off the waiver wire in the Fellowship League is steal. We'll see. Tevin Coleman's probably the trusted veteran back of that group. He's probably going to lead the team in touches and snaps week 1, but I just don't know about how long-lasting his fantasy value will be. So DK over under 22 fantasy points. I'll take the over. DK Metcalf's going to be loose and ready to go. We know Xavier Rhodes is already dinged up. I'll take the over on. So what is that going to be? DK Metcalf for a touchdown. So that brings 22 down to 16, and then he basically needs like 6 catches and 100 yards. It'll be right there. If it was like 20, I'd say over, but it's going to be probably in that 20 to 24 range. So I like the DK Metcalf this week, as pretty much every week you should. But the Chargers at Washington football team, the Chargers are actually the road team, but they're favored to win by 1 in a tight game. It's a 45-point game. So that's basically 23 to 22. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Justin Herbert, quarterback 1. If you drafted Justin Herbert, I think you got to start him unless you have, a really, really good backup option behind him. It's going to be tough sledding. I think, again, people are nervous about the Austin Eckler not practicing today, but I think by tomorrow we'll get that resolved here. He should be a limited or a full participant tomorrow. But you're starting Eckler, you're starting Keenan Allen. I think those are the 2 must starts on the Chargers side. Jared Cook can be used as a tight end streamer. Mike Williams, he's kind of, again, in that he's in that tier with like Michael Gallup and a couple other guys that can be a wide receiver 3 flex. I'm willing to wait, though. This Washington team is a tough game. There's not going to be a lot of touchdowns probably scored in this one, maybe 2 from each side. The winner gets the 3rd touchdown. We can see that. And then on the Washington side, Ryan Fitzpatrick's just a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. I don't feel great about it. Again, the Chargers themselves, people forget how good their defense is now that Derwin James is back, but the Chargers are a top 10 defense this year. Antonio Gibson, you drafted him in the 2nd round. You're going to start him. Terry McLaurin, he's in our lineups as well. And then Logan Thomas, I think if you drafted Logan Thomas in the 7th round, you're going to leave Logan Thomas in your lineup. I think it's going to be a fun season for him. And then I have both defenses listed as starts. We know Fitzpatrick turns the ball over, and then just second year Justin Herbert, I'm willing to pump the brakes on this one a little bit. Washington defense is still really good. It's a home game. The big news that came out today for this game, though, was Curtis Samuel pulled up in practice. He's probably not going to play, so that just makes me like Gibson, McLaurin, and Logan Thomas even more than I did. And then we'll just leave all these guys on the bench here. But the name to keep an eye on, the wide receiver 3 for the Chargers, rookie Josh Palmer. I think he could be a guy that we might be picking Palmer up on the waiver wire soon. So just watch for him. If he makes a couple plays, that's a good sign. And then if anything were to happen to Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson's the guy to own there. So we'll move on to the Jets and the Carolina Panthers. Let me see what we got here. Let's see. So Bronson, thanks for the question. Trade Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas for Kamara and Justin Jefferson. Whew. I think you got to do that, man. That's nuts. If you had to pick between Jefferson or Ridley, they're kind of the same guy to me. I think I like the Matt Ryan connection a little bit more than I like the Kirk Cousins connection. So if you're getting Kamara and Jefferson or Ridley, Kamara is basically the same draft capital as Davante Adams. Michael Thomas going in the 9th, 10th round, whatever he went, to get a 2nd round pick in Jefferson or Calvin Ridley, that's a steal. You got to get Kamara, and then it's a preference choice. If you're a big Justin Jefferson fan, go get him. If you like Calvin Ridley, go get him. But man, that's a fantastic trade for you. I'm nervous about Michael Thomas. We don't know when exactly he's going to be back. They say 6 to 7 weeks, but who knows? He might not be himself. And the opportunity to get a Jefferson or Ridley plus a Kamara, that could be a lot of fun. And then, Justin Herbert as a QB2 in Superflex League is getting dirty. Let me see what else we got here. So we got the Jets and the Carolina Panthers. This one's interesting. Sam Darnold going up against his old team. It's a home game for Carolina. They are favored to win by 5.5 points. A really low total, 44 total points in this game. Carolina, of course, you're starting Christian McCaffrey. I think you have to start DJ Moore and you have to start Robbie Anderson. That's really the only 3 must-start guys. Sam Darnold, I think he could be a quarterback 1 streamer. If you waited on quarterback, or if you needed something, if you had a tough matchup and you wanted to try Sam Darnold, I'm into it. He looks best as a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues, though. And then the rookie, Terrace Marshall Jr., go check your waiver wires. If if you went undrafted and he's sitting on waivers, he's roughly about 20% owned on ESPN. He should be added to the bottom of your bench. Terrace Marshall Jr., starting slot receiver for Sam Darnold. He's going to have a fantastic rookie year. It wouldn't surprise me if Terrace Marshall is the #1 rookie wide receiver this year. So Terrace Marshall, check your waiver wires, and then just keep an eye on Dan Arnold there in Carolina. As for the Jets, Zach Wilson, he's a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. I think if you have Corey Davis on your team, he's going to be a wide receiver 3. He's going to lead the team in targets. What we are watching for is, let me pull up the Jets reports because I'm looking for Jamison Crowder here. So Crowder, he's not on the injury report. He did have the COVID situation last week. I think he's going to be leading towards playing. So if Crowder plays, I'm going to probably remove Elijah Moore from the flex, but I'm excited to see what Elijah Moore looks like with Zach Wilson. But Corey Davis is really the only must-start Jet. I'm not starting the Jets defense. Maybe the Carolina Panthers, they could be streamed. But this running backfield, Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, Jamison Crowder, I got to add Tevin Coleman to this list. I don't really trust it. You're not going to trust the Jets running back week 1. We got to wait and see how this lays out. So we'll move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. We'll be quick about it. Let me see what we got here. Should we pick up Marshall for Lance or Waddle? That one's close. I like Marshall and Waddle very similarly. That's a gamble. Marshall and Waddle are kind of equal to me. They both could be a leading slot receiver for their team. Waddle was picked a little higher. I'm probably going to hold on to Waddle. I think in that league you do have a ton of wide receivers, so I think it's okay. I'd feel guilty cutting Lance, but you do have Justin Fields. So if you're going to cut anybody, you're going to cut Lance because I think as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, he's probably going to start. So for now, adding Marshall to your team, you might have too many wide receivers. I don't know. I would probably hold. Your team's pretty good as is. And then, Jacksonville Jaguars at Houston. The 45.5 point total here with the Jags winning by 3. Trevor Lawrence can be a quarterback this week. I think he's a top 10, top 12 option. You want to get him in there if you're streaming him. He's a sweet quarterback 2 this week in Superflex leagues. You got to start James Robinson. He's a running back 2 with some upside as a top 5, top 10 running back. Laviska Shenault, I think with the PPR leagues, he's going to be a useful wide receiver 3. And then just with the Texans traded their #1 cornerback today. So I think you got to get DJ Chark. You got to get Marvin Jones in this game. I think this could be a fun one for Trevor Lawrence. I hope they just let him go back and throw the ball 40 times and learn how to be an NFL quarterback week 1 against the Houston Texans. I'd consider starting the Jacksonville defense. I don't think the Texans are going to score too many points. And then we'll watch for James O'Shaughnessy and Carlos Hyde. On the Houston side, I don't want to talk about Houston. It's really only Brandon Cooks that could be used as a wide receiver 3 flex. I don't trust it. I was not advising Houston players. You're not going to use the Houston defense all season. I'll probably just leave that hell no in there all year. But Tyrod Taylor, maybe a quarterback 2 in Superflex. Phil Lindsay, Mark Ingram, David Johnson. I don't trust any of them yet. I want to see how the backfield shakes out. So Jacksonville, I'm probably going to take Jacksonville to win by more than 3. I think they'll cover that for sure. And then we get to the afternoon game. So at 3:25, I think this starts. The Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. The game of the week, 54.5 total points. That's the most points implied for the week 1. Chiefs are favored by 5.5 points. So you're starting Mahomes, you're starting Kelsey, you're starting Tyreek Hill, you're starting Nick Chubb. Those are the obvious names. If you drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, good news for you today. He was a full participant on Wednesday's practice. The ankle injury doesn't seem to be as serious as we had projected. So you're starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire for sure. And then Mecole Hardman's probably the only other guy that he's kind of in. We've been talking about this wide receiver 3 flex territory of Mike Williams, Michael Gallup. There's a handful of guys in there. And Mecole Hardman, he's a risky play. He can get you 20 points and a touchdown, or he could end up getting you 2 catches for 40 yards. So I think if you have Hardman, I'm probably leaving him on the bench this week. I want to see his usage and see what he does in that offense first. We'll monitor the rest of the things here on the bench. But for Cleveland, if the Chiefs and the Browns are the highest projected point total of the week, I think Baker Mayfield's a quarterback 1. I have him listed here as a quarterback 2 for Superflex leagues, but he could be a top 10, top 12 quarterback. Again, you're starting Nick Chubb. If you drafted Odell Beckham, you probably got to get him in your lineups as a wide receiver 3 flex. Austin Hooper, wouldn't surprise me to see him have a good day. If we're expecting the Browns to have to play catch up and throw the ball, Hooper could be used as a tight end 1 streamer. And then Landry and Kareem Hunt, Landry's a wide receiver 3 flex. I don't love it, but he should be good for double digits. And then Kareem Hunt, kind of the same thing. He's got like the 8 to 12 point floor, so he could be a low end RB2 flex for you. And then I kind of don't want to start either defenses in this one, but I'm watching for Donovan Peoples-Jones. This one's going to be a fun game. Get your studs in. Don't question it. Hopefully Nick Chubb can get more involved. But this should be a fun game. This is the Sunday 3:25 start, and we'll move on to Miami at New England. We got Raphael in the chat room, Justin Jackson. So let's we hit that on the beginning of the show. I think if you are looking at Justin Jackson on the waiver wire, it's if you have room to stash, like if you could cut somebody and stash Justin Jackson, I think that's fine. But I'm really not too concerned about Austin Eckler's injury just yet. Again, it's the first Wednesday of the practice. Typically, Wednesdays are not a serious practice day for studs. If Eckler misses practice tomorrow, then we'll go get Justin Jackson off the waiver wire. But I think for now, I'm not gonna add Justin Jackson quite yet. And then Sammy Watkins, the Week 1 30-point game, maybe we'll see for Baltimore. But Miami, New England, Tua versus Mac Jones, Alabama versus Alabama. This should be fun. Both guys are kind of quarterback 2s for me. I do think Tua, with his rushing ability, he could be a fringe quarterback 1, so I like Tua a little bit more than Mac Jones. You're starting Myles Gaskin, you're starting Damian Harris. I think they're both kind of – Gaskin's in a PPR league. He's probably good for 10 to 15 points, so you want to make sure you get him in there. That's a safe play at this point. And then Damian Harris, assuming he gets the majority of the carries, I think Damian Harris against Miami's defense should be good for 8 to 12 points there. Hopefully gets a catch or two. The tight ends, Gesicki and Jonnu Smith. I like both guys as tight end 1 streamers. And then the wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker. No Will Fuller this week, so that gives you a little bit more encouragement to get Waddle and Parker in your lineups. And then Jacoby Myers, wide receiver 3 flex. James White, he's kind of like a low-end running back 2 flex. I'm a little uncomfortable starting James White. If you went 0 running back, you could hope for 8 to 10, 12 points from James White. I do think both defenses could be used in this one. Again, Mac Jones is still a rookie quarterback. We'll see how that goes. They have some really good cornerbacks in Miami. Same can be said about New England. We still don't really know what Tua's upside is, so I think this could be a low-scoring game, and Vegas does have it at 43.5 total points, 3 points favored to the Patriots side. So we'll move on here to Green Bay in New Orleans. Let me look at some of these questions here. This is Matt Bain. I got a quick question. Should I drop Darnell Mooney if Eckler misses tomorrow too? It depends. If Mooney was like your 4th receiver, that means you're probably going to be needing him at some point. If Mooney is like your 6th receiver, meaning it's going to be hard to get him in your lineup, I think it's worth it. But I'm thinking Eckler's going to be fine. It's weird because he tweeted some stuff out today, so it appears like everything is fine. So adding technically Justin Jackson would be the next man up, but just looking at Austin Eckler's stuff here, I'm totally not expecting this to be anything. Let me click on it here. I mean, he says 4 days out from the start of year 5, never been more ready and excited to be back doing what I love in front of you all. I don't know, he's been posting a lot of things and he seems to be in a pretty good space. I'm assuming Eckler's fine. If he does miss practice again tomorrow, you could cut Darnell Mooney, but I'd probably prefer to hold Mooney. What's going on, Cash's stylist? I got Keenan Allen and Herbert stacked, but I can trade Herbert straight up for Kyler. Should I do it? I think so. Kyler Murray was, in just pre-draft projections and rankings, Kyler Murray was the 2nd or 3rd quarterback on most people's list. Herbert was anywhere from 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8th. So if you could send Herbert for Kyler straight up, I think I'm going to take Kyler Murray with that rushing upside. So for me, I'm going to go hit accept on that. I'm taking Kyler Murray if you can get it. Green Bay in New Orleans. This game's weird. It got moved to Jacksonville with all the unfortunate news of Hurricane Ida. Green Bay is favored to win by 3.5. It's a 50-point implied total. As far as the Packers studs, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, you're starting those 3 guys. Alvin Kamara, of course, is in the lineup. Jameis Winston, he's a fringe quarterback too for me. He could be top 20. The Packers' passing defense was pretty good last year, so I'm expecting the Packers to win. And if the Saints are going to do something, it's going to be Alvin Kamara, some big plays. So it's all Kamara on the Saints side. I don't trust Marquez Callaway going up against Jair Alexander. So who else do they have really? Let's pull up the practice report here. I want to see about Traequan Smith. No practice reports for New Orleans yet today. So Traequan Smith had been hurt. We're not going to use him, though. It's hard to trust him. But just keep an eye. I've been telling people, if you have the room on your roster, Jawan Johnson is a tight end to watch. The Packers do kind of give up tight end points. So Jawan Johnson's a fringe wide receiver tight end. He could be the leading target guy in this one for the Saints. And then as far as Robert Tonyan on the tight end side here for the Packers, you're probably going to just roll out Robert Tonyan every week and hope for the touchdown. It does sound like he's going to be more involved in the offense this year, so I think it's easy to project more receptions and targets and yards. We'll see if the touchdowns can stay the same. And then if you're feeling risky, Marquez Valdes-Scantling just needs one play to make your day. I would rather start Valdes-Scantling over Marquez Callaway, and then maybe start the Packers defense. I know it's Kamara, but it's also Winston with some turnovers and just a new look offense for the Saints. We really don't know what the unveil is going to be, but the rest of these guys, we're just going to leave them on our bench. And we'll move on to Denver at the New York Giants. This is, I think, the lowest implied point total. It's 42 points. Denver's favored on the road by 3 points. Both Bridgewater and Daniel Jones, like quarterback twos in Superflex leagues. Saquon Barkley, if you drafted Saquon Barkley, I have him here. Just limit your expectations. We don't know how many snaps, how many touches he's going to get in this one. I think he can be a running back 2 with some running back 1 upside. I'm starting Jerry Jeudy as a wide receiver 2. Probably looks best as a wide receiver 3, though. Cortland Sutton, also, you got to get him in your lineups. Noah Fant, I wanted to see what his practice report was today. Let me see here. So we got a limited in today with the leg. We'll see what happens there. If Noah Fant can't go, that's going to make me like Cortland Sutton a little bit more, and then Albert Okwuegbunam could be fun. But as far as the running backs in Denver, I think you got to start Javonte Williams if you got him. Running back 3 flex. That seems, to me, just what the coaches have been saying the last couple weeks. Javonte is going to be the guy. So Melvin Gordon, I have him listed as a flex. I'm probably going to move him down to the bench. I just don't trust it. I'd rather see the upside of Javonte Williams in my lineup. I'm going to start Denver D, and then just keep an eye on KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler could be sneaky this year for Denver. And again, on the Giants side, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, these guys are both kind of wide receiver 3 flexes. They belong in that Michael Gallup, Mike Williams tier, kind of high risk, high reward wide receiver 3s. I would rather start Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy over these 3 guys, or over these 2 guys for sure. So we'll see what happens there. Not starting the Giants defense. Evan Ingram doesn't sound like he's going to play, and that doesn't make me want to play Kyle Rudolph either. So I'm avoiding the Giants. Saquon Barkley is really the only guy that I want to use. Again, this is the lowest implied point total of the week, but I like Jerry Jeudy. I like Javonte Williams. That could be kind of fun. But I'm watching Denver to see how they operate here with their rookie running backs. And then that gets us to Sunday Night Football. How do we feel about Saquon Barkley this year? I think he'll eventually return it. So I think if you have Saquon Barkley, there is a clear reason why he went a little bit later in drafts. I think there's going to be a ramp-up period for him where maybe they split time with him. He's still going to be, the guy that gets the ball the most in that backfield. So if you have him, you have to start him. But we could see just a slow ramp-up period where maybe he only gets the ball 12 to 15 times week 1. And then the next game, it's going to be 14 to 16. Or otherwise, I could be totally wrong and they just give him the ball 25 times right away. He looks good to go. Some of the practice reports and the videos I've seen, Barkley looks to be in like some of the best shape he's ever been. So I'm excited about Barkley. Again, the way I'm operating with him is he's my running back 2. If you draft him as your 1, I kind of just view him as a 2 for now. And then if we're just patient, maybe 2-3 weeks in, they just kind of rip the governor off and Barkley's good to go. So I think he's a lot of fun. You just got to be patient with Saquon Barkley. And then Higbee, top 5 upside season long. I think so. We've seen success with Matt Stafford and tight ends in the past. It's that offense without Gerald Everett too. You're going to see Tyler Higbee get the majority of those touches. I think last year, let me actually look at that. I don't have it pulled up, but between the 2 of those guys, they had a ton of targets and ton of receptions. So if Higbee just gets like 80% of the 2 Everett and Higbee numbers, Higbee does have top 5. I think he's a lock for top 10, but it's if he catches 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, that's top 5 upside. So I like the Higbee with the Rams there. What's going on, Seth? We got another question from Seth. Do I trade Cole Beasley for Tony Jones Jr. if I have Kamara, 12-man PPR? I don't know if that's a necessary trade exactly. I mean, if Kamara goes down, what's Tony Jones's upside? If you find yourself not needing Cole Beasley, like if he's like your wide receiver 5 or 6, you could do that. That doesn't bother me if you want to make sure you just secure your handcuff. Otherwise, I'd probably just ride and die with Kamara and Cole Beasley on my team. But it also wouldn't be a bad idea to wait. Maybe we just wait till week 1, see the unveil there. But it's I don't see it as a big win or a big loss. Cole Beasley and Tony Jones Jr. Operating at their best. They're both going to be maybe 8 to 12 point guys there. So I don't really know if it matters too much. But if you want to get your handcuff, I'll probably take Tony Jones in that one. Not even average. PPR, start 1. Damian Harris, Hollywood, Antonio Brown. PPR, I'm going Antonio Brown. Tampa Bay, get Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night. Apparently, Antonio had he was the most uncoverable receiver in camp. So I think Antonio Brown, Damian Harris, and then Hollywood Brown. DK, Allen Robinson, Deontay. Some fun studs there, and then you got the tight end late. I like the decision there. But we're to the Sunday night football game. Chicago at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are favored by 7.5 points in a game that's only projected 46.5 points. So it's going to be low scoring for Chicago. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not starting Andy Dalton even in a super flex league. I think if you drafted David Montgomery, he's going to get the touches. He's going to be a fringe running back too. I think this week, top 20, top 25 running back. Allen Robinson, if you're nervous about Jalen Ramsey, I don't know. Like in the past, we could see Ramsey take a guy like Darnell Mooney, guy that can go deep. Allen Robinson could just be left alone on his own. So don't get cute with it. Start Allen Robinson. Darnell Mooney, though, wide receiver 3 flex. I don't feel great about it. Again, he's in that massive tier of Michael Gallup and Mike Williams and all those wide receiver 3 flexes. Where if you needed to, I suppose you could do it. I don't love it, but it could be a nice reward for you, especially if Robinson gets the Ramsey treatment. I do have a maybe next to the Bears defense, but I'm not really feeling so great about that anymore. For the Rams, Matt Stafford is going to be a fringe quarterback 1. Quarterback 2 in Superflex looks really, really good. You're starting Bob Woods. You're starting Cooper Kupp. No question with those two. Tyler Higbee, again, like our guy Seth here, he was able to get Tyler Higbee very late, he says. And tight end 1 upside. The Bears, sneaky fact, last season, the Bears, the second worst team against the tight end. They allowed 16 points per game to the tight end in PPR leagues. They almost allowed 1,000 yards, 89 catches, and 12 touchdowns. So the Bears, they do struggle against tight ends. I think Tyler Higbee could be a sneaky week 1 start. And if you play DFS, Tyler Higbee's probably going to be in my lineups. So I like the Tyler Higbee here, just like Seth does. And then if you were able to draft Darrell Henderson, he's a flex. I mean, I'd rather have probably Darrell Henderson in my lineup than guys like Mooney, some of these, these flexes like Kenny Golladay, a lot of these wide receivers that we don't really trust. So I do like Darrell Henderson. He's a fringe running back 2 this week. And then you're going to start the Rams defense pretty much every week. I think that's fair to say. It doesn't really matter who they play. And on our benches, I'm watching Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson to see the number 3-4 receiver spot. We'll see if Sony Michel gets some run. And then the tight ends, we'll see if Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham can separate themselves. And then do we see Justin Fields at all? I think that will be the question if Andy Dalton plays well. Maybe Justin Fields gets put on ice a little bit. We'll see. But I think the Rams, clear-cut favorites in that one, 7.5 point favorites. And then we're going on about 53 minutes. So if you guys got any final questions, fire them in there. I'm going to cover the Baltimore-Las Vegas game, and then we'll be done with week 1 start-sit. But Baltimore, 4-point favorites, 50.5 points total implied. At Las Vegas, we get to see the sweet new stadium there. We also get to see the sweet new SoFi Stadium too. But the Raiders, the Roomba, it's a pretty cool looking stadium. So I'm excited for those unveils. You're starting Lamar Jackson, no question. Derek Carr could be a quarterback 2 in Superflex. I think people don't really respect Derek Carr as much as they should. He's a top 15, top 16 quarterback the last couple of seasons. Gus Edwards, if you were fortunate enough to get Edwards in the 5th, 6th, or even later in your draft, you're going to start him as a running back 2. Josh Jacobs, again, same thing. Lower your expectations, but when the Raiders get near the goal line, they're going to give Josh Jacobs the ball. So I think he's a running back 2 option as well. You're starting Mark Andrews. You're starting Darren Waller. And then just keep an eye on Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs, we know his game. He only needs 1 play to make your day. I think, again, it's kind of a risky play. I would if you're nervous about a player, especially week 1, I would err on the side of caution. Don't just throw those guys out there. Wait and see what the week 1 reveal does. But Bryan Edwards, this is a name here that I haven't talked much about the last couple of weeks. I've just been kind of slow to him. But Bryan Edwards, if he's available in your league, I think he's worth a stash on the end of your bench if you have someone to get rid of. But Bryan Edwards could be the leading wide receiver on this team this year. John Brown basically just cut me. Like, I want to go somewhere else. Bryan Edwards apparently got the run with the starters all summer, and he just didn't let it go. So Bryan Edwards, a lot of fun there. He could be used as a waiver wire pickup. Go ahead and start the Ravens defense. We're not going to trust the Raiders defense all year. I don't trust the wide receivers in Baltimore. Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins will be on my bench. And then Tyson Williams, interested to see how he gets worked in as the running back too. I don't trust Kenyon Drake, Hunter Renfrow, Foster Moreau yet. We'll see. But week one, I think I would err on the side of starting my studs. If you have questions about a guy, again, it's only week one. It's not going to kill you if you make the wrong decision this week. This is a big week of just soaking in information. You want to look at how teams are using players, who played well, who got more snaps than the other thing. So week one is a research week. So I would just lean towards starting my stud. So I hope that helps. Looks like we got another question here from Raphael. For flex, Jacoby, MK, Hunt, Marquez Callaway. MK, who's M/K? M/K. So Jacoby Myers going up against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins have some really good cornerbacks. That makes me a little bit nervous. Kareem Hunt, Marquez Callaway. I'm curious who the M and the K is. Why can't I think of who it might be? M/K. Kareem Hunt. So Jacoby Myers, Kareem Hunt. Okay. I think so. I don't know if you missed it earlier, but I covered the Packers Saints game. I love Marquez Callaway's season-long prospects, but the Packers defense with Jair Alexander probably guarding Marquez Callaway, I just don't trust it. I think if you wanted to play Jacoby Myers, it's kind of the same thing. He's going to have some good cornerbacks up in Miami to go against. So I think just based on like the Vegas odd totals, we learned that the Chiefs and the Browns have the highest most projected points, 54.5. I would probably lean towards Kareem Hunt. He's probably the safest play, 8 to 12 points as a floor. If they get down, they're going to throw the ball, which means more Kareem Hunt on the field. They also like to use Kareem Hunt near the red zone in some fun passing ways. So I think I'm going to lean with Kareem Hunt. He seems to be the safest play. We got a trade battle going on here between Aiden and Justin. But I don't know. That was fun. That was the first week for Start Sit. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow or Friday night. I'm still kind of figuring out the schedule, but 6 hours to go. It says that's not right. That's, I guess, till tomorrow morning. But tomorrow, big day, Dallas at Tampa Bay. Thank you for hanging out with us, Raphael. We had a lot of new people in the chat room, so I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Tell a friend. I'll answer one more question real quick here. Flex help from Trey. Full PPR. Henderson, Juju, Gaskin, Judy, Connor, or Galladay. So I'm going to cross off Galladay. He's hard to trust, especially against Denver. I'm going to probably cross off James Conner. I like James Conner, but I want to see what the week one reveal looks like. So for full PPR, I think it's between Juju, Gaskin, and Jerry Jeudy. Now, in a game against Buffalo, a lot of points are going to be scored in that Pittsburgh-Buffalo game. I could see Juju rack up 6, 7, 8 catches. He had a good preseason too. Jerry Jeudy, he's a little bit more boom bust. That game in the Giants-Broncos game had like the lowest implied point total. The Gaskin, the Dolphins and the Patriots game also had a really low point total. So I think if I'm going to rank them, my top 3 choices would be Juju, and then Gaskin, and then Jeudy. I do like all 3 of those guys, but in full PPR, if you're looking for the safe hit, I'd probably just take Juju. He seemed to be back into the form of things. And I'm interested to see who Tre'Davious White covers. We know Juju's a slot receiver, so he's going to take out Tre'Davious White. Should be on Deontay or Chase Claypool. So I think I'm going to go with Juju in that one. But I get it if you want to go Gaskin or Jeudy. So that's going to do it for tonight's episode. I thank you guys all for hanging out. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're going to be we're hanging out, doing Start Sit. I'll have all that stuff. Check out the links in the description below. And again, thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good rest of your night. We'll see you later. Peace.